All right, now we're live. It said that we had a poor connection. We're live, Tatum. Say hello.
Hello.
All right, hello. Thanks, man.
Cool.
All right, we're on location number 2 because we got kicked out of location number 1. Hello, everybody. My name's Alex Vidal. I am Regional Vice President for Coldwell Banker here in Dallas-Fort Worth. We are coming to you live with one of the most dominating prospectors. He's laughing because he knows I'm right. Most dominating prospectors I have ever met in my life, Tatum Hood. And you guys are in for a special treat today. No questions planned because I already know what I want to ask him. Tatum, you ready?
Ready.
All right, let's do it, man. All right, so for people watching this, I have an audience in Dallas. I have audiences in Miami. Who's Tatum Hood?
Well, regular guy that's got into real estate in 2006 in the state of Georgia, where I progressed to become a broker in Georgia. My wife was transferred to Texas in 2012. I still did some real estate in Georgia, so I didn't get my license here until 2015.
Okay.
So when I got my license here, you hear a lot, well, you have to nurture your sphere of influence.
That's right.
Well, I didn't have one. The only people we knew here were my sister-in-law and brother-in-law, so that quickly ran out. So I had to revert back to my training, which is what my godmom who taught me, is to prospect, and that's literally how I built my my name recognition, my business off of just prospecting, and it worked.
What were you doing before real estate?
Before real estate, I was in my family business, which is trucking.
That's right. Oh, yeah, that's right. We did talk about that, and we talked about your dad being in the
Yep.
trucking business and all that. And I know he's very proud of you now with
Yes.
everything that you've done. So interesting, because I get that question a lot. Alex, I'm new to DFW. What do I do? You went straight to prospecting.
Yes.
Were you always prospecting even when you first got in the business?
When I first got into business, my godmom, she kind of sat me down and said, okay, back then we didn't have, Red X or any type of, here's the phone book, let's call. It's like, are you serious? But after about the 100th no, I started getting yeses. And I was hooked at that point.
Man, funny story. 100th no, and he kept calling. Number 2, so my kids had a class where in their class they had to figure out what a phone book was, what a rotary phone was.
So I'm showing my age.
Oh my God, it was crazy. We had to show my 10-year-old what a phone book was and an encyclopedia and all that because they don't know it. They don't know it. All right, so here you are. You're new to DFW. You're new to the business. You're a prospecting machine, but you weren't always like that. Who do you know who to even call? Like, who are you calling?
So who I was calling, so basically I was taught to pick the area that you want to prospect in. My area, I live in Rockwall, that's where I live, so I targeted that area.
Okay.
And literally the neighborhoods I want to work, which was anything that had an 8 to 10% turnover rate every year after year, that's who I targeted. Because I knew the likelihood of them selling was great.
So 8 to 10%. So just to do the math, simple, if you have 1,000 homes, you need to have at least 80 to 100 selling per year.
Per year.
For you, that was good enough to go ahead and target via the phone.
Exactly, exactly. And it worked. I targeted a lot of expires, a lot of cancels. I targeted FSBOs, but that's really not my forte, but I do still call them occasionally.
Got it. So I'm a huge door knocker. You're the complete opposite. You're
Yes.
a huge phone guy. Never my style. So I'm fascinated by this. I say if you door knock, you pick 1,000 homes.
Right.
And that's what you do. Every single month you're hitting those 1,000 homes. Since you're calling and you can cover a larger geographic area,
Right.
how big of an area, like what are your parameters? How many homes are you looking at?
So my parameter is I have 6 different neighborhoods that I like to target. If I call you and you say, hey, call me back in 6 months, then you'll get a postcard from me every other week, every 2 weeks. The reason why I'm doing that is because when I call to follow up, I know just from experience, by the time I call you back, your husband's gotten my postcard out the mailbox, you've gotten it, your kids have gotten it, so you know who Tatum is by the time I call you back and keep consistently follow up with you. So we're developing a relationship whether you know it or not.
Interesting. What are you, if you don't mind me asking, and I know you said you were an open book, which I love, so thank you for sharing. What are you sending them during that time?
What I'm sending them, so at Coldwell Banker we have the Prospect Square, which I am just now using, but before that I use real market reports. Okay. So I can actually dial in your neighborhood specifically, show you the listings that sold, the active, the expired. You can get that every Monday from me.
That's right. And that is another Coldwell Banker tool, by the way.
Exactly.
I love market reports. It's actually one of my favorites. Okay.
Exactly.
So you're sending them every 2 weeks activity of what's happening in the neighborhood.
And a postcard.
Got it. How are you getting their phone numbers?
So there's a variety of different services. There is no one way. Coldwell Banker offers a free access to Cole Realty Resources.
Yep.
I use something called the Red X. The Red X sends me every night, the expireds for that previous day. So I'm able to get their phone numbers, their email addresses, everything. And there's a separate top tier platform that they have. It's called Onyx. If you prospecting with them for a while and can show proof that you really use their system, they'll allow you access to that. I get better phone numbers, multiple email addresses, and that's what I use.
Got it. So you can only get access to Onyx if you prove that you're using their system.
Exactly.
Do they charge you for it? Is it
yes,
just
it's an additional fee. It's if you go to their website, you'll see a brief synopsis of what it is.
Sure.
There is no price. There's nothing on there. But
Interesting.
it's you have to call and inquire about it.
But you have to earn the right to even inquire.
Because they're going to ask. They're going to ask. You know, how long have you had our system? How often do you prospect? It's a application.
Got it. How many hours a day and how many days a week are you prospecting?
Monday through Friday, typically from 9 to 11:30. If I don't have appointments in the afternoon, it starts back up around 1:30.
Interesting. So
I'm
it's not
supposed
like
to cut my phone off during my lunch break, but I rarely ever do.
Okay. So if come the afternoon and you don't have any appointments, you're not taking the afternoon off. You're back on the phone calling. Mm-hmm. Do you ever find a time? Man, I have so many questions.
You're fine.
Do you ever find a time where you run out of phone numbers to call?
No.
Okay.
No. I can actually show you. I have probably 40,000 expires and cancels over the last 3 years that have not relisted, but I am touching bases with them. On the circle prospecting side, I have probably over 200,000 numbers. I will never run out of phone numbers.
Got it. So you're never going to run out of data.
No.
You have these areas that you're targeting. Mm-hmm. So what happens if someone calls you tonight and says, "Hey Tatum, I can only meet you tomorrow at 10 o'clock for a listing appointment"?
Then I basically tell them I only have 2 appointment slots per day. That's 2:30 in the afternoon for those that are retired and not working, and 7 p.m. The reason I do that is because it protects my prospecting time. I know if I set an appointment for 5, traffic gets in the way, little Jimmy has to be picked up from daycare. Like, I've heard every excuse in the book. So 7 p.m., everybody's home, they've had dinner. 2:30, most people are getting ready to go get the
kids from school.
Kids from school, senior citizen special. Mostly that's for people that's retired or looking to move out of state, so to speak.
Wow, that's fascinating. Okay, what if they tell you, "Well, I'm sorry, I can only meet tomorrow at 10"?
Well, we can do a Zoom listing appointment right now, because I have to. That time I cannot commit to that. I'd rather not start our relationship out on a lie. I cannot commit to that. My time is that time spot is locked.
And then you wonder why he's a top producer, man. That's that right there. I could end it right there. But okay. Okay, so who are you targeting when you call? You said you really don't do for sale by owners.
No.
That's not your forte. Mm-hmm. Expireds, cancels. Mm-hmm. What else?
And circle prospecting. Circle prospecting is a prospect that has not raised their hand and said, "Hey, I'm selling." Okay. This is like a shot in the dark, so to speak, a neighborhood that I'm trying to establish a relationship in.
Straight cold call.
Straight cold call.
Okay. What are you telling expireds when you call? And he could probably he probably repeats this in his sleep. He's probably dreaming and
"Hey, I'm Tatum. I never said the brokerage that I'm with." I know it's kind of sacrilegious. I never said the brokerage that I'm with, and the reason behind that is because if you've canceled with Coldwell Banker, they're the worst brokerage that you ever. I never say the brokerage that I'm with. "Hey, I'm Tatum. I'm a local real estate agent. Just calling because my records indicate that your property left the market unsold. Is that true?" And they'll say yes or no. Well, got it. Let me ask you a question. Do you feel that your home didn't sell because your agent didn't do their job? And 99% of the time, believe it or not, you'll get no, because they don't want to throw their agent under the bus. There's several more questions.
I think you would think they would.
No.
Okay.
No. Now, when they do throw the agent under the bus, those are what I consider the easy prospecting calls. But a lot of times they will not.
Okay. So when they don't blame it on the realtor, how do you follow that up?
I say, okay, well, I just want to let you know I do business completely different than all other agents. That virtually guarantees you a few things. One is that your house will actually sell. 2 is you end up with way more money, bottom line, than you can get any other way. That's with or without an agent. If the time's right and when you do decide to put your property back on the market, is that not what you're looking for? Yes. Let me ask you, where were you guys headed when you put your property on the market, and how soon was you likely to get there? A lot of times you'll hear, "I thought my house would sell in 2 weeks." Now keep in mind, they've probably been on the market for 6 months to a year. Well, what type of impact has that had on your life when your property did not sell? What I'm trying to do is get them to talk and get them to open up. A lot of times it works.
Wow. Okay, so let's let this ambulance pass by. It's happened before. It's not the first time in 115 episodes. Episode 115 of the Closer Club, by the way. Forgot to say that at the beginning. What about cancellations? Is it the same?
Same script.
Same exact
I
script.
never change it. It's the same script.
Okay, what about when you're circle prospecting?
Circle prospecting, "Hey, I'm Tatum, a local real estate agent, just calling to see if you might be thinking of selling your property." Simple question.
No, I have no interest.
Oh, do you have any plans to move ever?
Yeah.
Do you know when that might be?
Well, I just moved to DFW, so I hope not for a while.
Gotcha. And then I go back into my script telling I do business completely different than all other agents. Virtually guarantees you a couple of things. My scripts all are pretty much the same. I just cater it to however our conversation is going.
Got it. Okay, $1 million question. This is going to be one for the record books, because I'm actually very curious. How many no's till you get the yes?
It varies. So a lot of times you'll get 50 to 60 no's before you even get a possible maybe.
Interesting. Okay.
So I tell people, circle prospecting, cold calling, calling in general, it's similar to Facebook advertising. They get typically a 2 to 4% response rate. It's the same with cold calling. It's just you're not spending thousands of dollars to do this. I tell people it's $17 is the average of what it costs me to take a listing, not a lead, but a listing.
Wow.
That's it.
Pay $17 all day long. Crazy.
And that's with my mailing, with my prospecting platform. That's typically what it is.
Got it. Okay. So now somebody says, you know what, Tatum, I'm interested. I'm interested in selling my home. Yeah, it expired. I do want to continue selling. What's your listing process like?
Listing process is most agents will jump off the phone. I don't. I actually ask a ton of questions because I want to make sure that this is a viable appointment. I just don't like running over to possibly list the property without knowing a lot of backstory, because it helps me in the sale process.
Sure.
So I have a form that I fill out, and I tell them it's going to take about 10 minutes for me to ask all the questions. And once I have that information, I set the appointment, I gather as much detail as I possibly can about the property, and then I go over and we have a conversation. And I tell my clients, my potential clients, that whether we do business or not, by the time I finish my listing presentation, and you'll have a greater understanding of what it takes to get a property sold than the average agent. And the reason for that is because I know you as a seller has a preconceived notion of what it takes to sell a property. And my job is to dispel all that, because it's the same as you walking into an operating room and you needing surgery. Yeah. You wouldn't dare tell a doctor, I want you to make an incision here, make this suture. Well, that's his job. He's the expert. So from the beginning of my listing presentation to when we sell the property, they need to look at me as an expert, and that's how my listing presentation is geared toward them seeing me as the actual expert.
How long does your listing presentation take?
45 minutes.
45 minutes. Mm-hmm. Across the board every time?
Across the board every time. A lot of times it's a lot sooner and when I say it's a lot sooner, they try to rush it, because at a certain point they're like, hey, I'm ready. But I continue to hit on a certain few points, because when we get to the listing signing part of it, I don't want any questions. And if it is, it's already answered in my presentation. Okay.
Very key point there. Mm-hmm. You still do the full listing presentation. And we preach that all the time. Even if it's your family, do the full listing presentation. Yep. Know what the expectations are.
Right.
Kudos to you to pushing back on that. How do you handle the commission objection?
Commission objection is most agents lead in with that. I don't discuss commission until you've agreed that I'm the best agent to actually get your home sold. Other than me coming in, giving you price and commission before understanding your wants, your needs, your goals, like a doctor walking into an examination room, handing you a prescription without actually examining you. It's called malpractice. So unless you agree to work with me and that I'm the best person to get your property sold, we don't discuss commission.
Wow, that takes confidence. But how long did it take you to develop that confidence?
A while, because just like everybody else, it was like, because let me back up. When you walk in, that's the first thing they're going to ask you is how much you charge. Well, I charge whatever. I charge something that's fair for both of us. And I try to sidestep, and I said, well, at a certain point in my listing presentation, I'm going to get to price and terms. When I get to that, I'll answer all your questions. So I try to reserve that to the end.
What about if they ask you that on the phone when you're going through your questions? I'm sure they have questions for you.
I charge anywhere from 0 to 10%. 0 meaning I don't take your listing. So I do not answer that question.
Got it. Now, you also are one of the most successful agents that I have seen in collecting a very high additional commission, right? And in Florida, we see agents get it anywhere from $300 to over $1,000. I know how are you pulling this off? Because the most important thing is you're pulling it off with sellers, man, which are already paying you a commission. How are you doing that?
So a lot of agents, they are, well, here's 7%, I charge 6%, or I charge 7%, or I charge 8%. They're stuck on that percentage. My job is to get you off of that. So how I do it is, okay, we decide to work together, and I ask you your payoff, I give you your payoff, I run all my numbers, and I say, if you were at title, now we're closing day, put a smile, we're happy. You're at closing day. Title company slides you a check with this amount on here. How would that make you feel? I'd be happy. Do me a favor and draw a smiley face. And they'll draw a little, I know this is crazy, but they'll draw a little smiley face, and I say, do me a favor and initial it, because that shows that that's sufficient for you. And then we start. Most agents start with a listing agreement. I don't. I start with the easiest paperwork to the hardest. Hardest is the listing agreement. So we do the IBS, we do the TILA, we do the seller disclosure, because every time they sign, they're saying yes.
That's right.
And when we get to the listing part, the percentage and my additional, it basically is nothing on this sheet takes away from that.
Okay. Let me ask you this. Are you getting them to sign with a pen to the paper? Is that on purpose? Okay. And is that on purpose because
it's
they're taking
psychological.
ownership? Okay, guys, if you're a part of Coldwell Banker and you've ever taken a class with me about mindset, now you know what I'm talking about. Not my words, Tatum's words.
It's psychological.
Man, I want to keep going, but we try to keep these short, but we're going to have a round two. But let me talk to you about sphere of influence. Okay, so now you've been in the business a long time. You're turning tons of transactions, huge raving fans. Are you calling your sphere of influence at all, or are you totally reactionary on that?
I'm calling them, and believe it or not, when you do expires and cancels, you'll get to where they're calling you a lot of times, and they're referring you to people. I tell this story real quick. There was an expired in Forney, and this is less than a year ago, maybe a little over a year ago. Her house expired. Her husband took a job in Houston. He moved to Houston. She stayed up here with 2 kids. I called her because she had expired, and she initially hung up on me. So a week later, I called back, and she says, well, I really wanted to be in Houston within the first 30 days because right now I feel like I'm a single mom. My husband comes home every Friday night, leaves back out Sunday afternoon. I'm doing everything by myself. And I asked her, I said, if I could get you to Houston with your husband in the next 60 days, how would that make you feel? She paused, and long story short, got her home sold in 11 days after I had it listed for more than what she had it listed before because of the techniques that we do. She sends me Christmas cards, happy birthday cards. Every time we go to Houston, my wife and I go to Houston, we have dinner with them. That became a friend because I was able to do what I said I would do.
That's right. Well, and more importantly, you found out what was really her why. You nailed it out of the park.
Exactly.
And you got it.
Exactly.
How frequently are you following up with your sphere?
Every 60 to 90 days.
Phone call or mail?
Both. Phone call and mail.
Okay. Last question. Actually, second to last, because we always end it with the book podcast. But you and I had lunch. We talked about you working with 2 buyers roughly a month, and we kind of shared some ideas.
Right.
Have you tried that yet?
I did. I referred the buyer to one of my agents. Yeah.
And it worked.
It worked.
Sweet.
No pushback. No anything. It's like, oh, really? I could have been doing this all along, but it works. It works.
Awesome. And so for those of you that are watching, here's what we're talking about. Tatum gets about one listing for every hour of prospecting to give you an idea. So we talked about what's one hole in his business, and the hole in his business was working with buyers. So we put a number to how many hours a month he works with those 2 buyers a month that he works with. Roughly it was 20 hours a month. I said cut that in half. You're working with 10 hours a month towards buyers. That's 120 hours a year that you're committing to buyers. He said yes. And so what you're telling me, Tatum, is you're going to get 120 listings if you did that. He goes, yeah, probably more. I'm like, dude, that's crazy. Cut that by 75%. Let's say you got 30 more listings a year if you no longer worked with buyers. How would your life look like?
I'm able to go back to Georgia every quarter like I promised my mom. So, yeah.
Okay, so the way he worked Forney, we worked this, right? And then so we shared a script, which is these customers who are now his sellers becoming buyers, who say, I only trust you, Tatum.
Yes.
Well, they trusted him with their largest investment. He delivered. And now we came up with a script that you only get if you're a Coldwell Banker, by the way. Sorry, I had to throw that in there. On how to be able to still engage and work with those buyers, but not directly. Now freeing him up, not to go get 30 more listings, but actually to go to Georgia more often and visit his family.
Yes.
So, dude, Tatum, this blew my expectations away, man. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
I'm going to go around and turn the camera off. Any parting words for the audience?
Parting words is on a book recommendation. Ninja Selling by Larry Kendall is life-changing. If you're a new agent, experienced agent, doesn't matter. Grab his book. You will be delighted that you did.
There you go. Tatum, thank you.